Fun fact, did you know that there are over 2,300 verses in the Bible that deal specifically with money, wealth, and possession? Even Jesus spoke about 15% of his preaching and 11 out of 39 parables about money. It was actually his most talked about topic. Now, you're probably wondering, why would Jesus focus most of his ministry on talking about money, managing money, the danger of loving money, and so forth? No, why does the Bible have more verses about money than any other topic? Well, today we're talking about 7 ways to include God within your finances. So if this is a topic that you're interested in, keep on watching. Hi guys, what's up? My name is Nikeia. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi. I talk all things about business, Christianity, and lifestyle. Today is going to be a business video. In specifics, we're talking about finance. Now, I'm kind of horrible, okay, with my finances, or at least I was, and I'm trying to fix that. But one thing that has really helped me is incorporating God's word within my financial planning. The Bible is such a great resource to help with financial planning, and I'm going to share with you the 7 ways that you can include God within your finances using the same methods I'm using on how I'm including God in my finances. Now, I am not a CPA, I'm not a professional accountant or anything like that, so if you need a financial advisor, this video is not for you. This is just how I include God within my finances, and hopefully you can gain some wisdom from this video. Also, if you love this topic, you're going to want to check out my podcast episode that I just launched. It actually dives deeper into this topic here today. I'll leave the link to that podcast episode in the description box below. If you guys don't know, I have a Christian business podcast called Scriptures, Stories, and Strategies, and it's where I take scriptures and stories from the Bible and then transform them into applicable business strategies so that you always have God within your business. And my goal for this podcast is to help you also use the Bible as a resource tool for your business and finance needs. All right, so like I said before, this video is broken down into 7 sections. I will leave timestamps down below just in case there's a section that you'd rather just skip to or learn more about. First, we're going to talk about the source of your money. Number 2 is income streams. 3 is budgeting. 4 is cash reserves or emergency funds. 5 is tithing and giving. 6 is debt. And 7 is investing. Money can be a powerful tool if you are using to furthering the advance of God's kingdom here on earth. Now, it also can be a dangerous tool in the hands of the devil, who is trying to influence you to use money in a negative light. Because the devil essentially wants money to be your master, and it's a way that he can seduce you with it if that's a weakness of yours. Honestly, money is neutral. It's neither bad or good. It's simply a tool that God has given us so we can help others, so that way we can meet our needs and serve him. And you can refer to Deuteronomy 8:18 and then Proverbs 10:22 for that reference. What really matters around money is the person's attitude towards money, and then how that translates to your use of it. So here's a little personal conviction or personal testimony. I was horrible with money, and I grew up in the mindset that money was a scarce thing. So when you do get money, you're supposed to hoard it and save onto it. And that has carried on into my early 20s to late 20s. And now I'm finally fixing that mindset in my early 30s, because when I used to receive money, whether that's from my business or my personal finances, when I would receive money, I would think that I'm not getting money anytime soon. So I would hoard it all. And that money would do nothing but sit there. I would not give it away, because I was like, well, I need this money. I don't have enough to just give it away to somebody. I don't have enough to give to the church. I barely have enough to pay my bills. So I just need to keep as much money as I need as possible. And that was a horrible mindset, because 1, that money is not helping me by just sitting there. 2, it's not helping other people. And 3, it's not growing. It's not doing anything, and it's not advancing God's kingdom. So that's a mindset that I just started to get into about a couple of years ago. And the Bible has been a great resource to help me out of that mindset. So if you're struggling with scarcity mindset when it comes to money, if you're struggling with a selfish mindset when it comes to money, if you're struggling with any type of negative mindset when it comes to money, this video is going to be great for you. So let's keep going. So Jesus presented us with a clear choice in Matthew 6:24. No one can serve 2 masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you would be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. So having your finances in order is actually encouraged throughout scripture, and putting a financial plan together that includes God. I'm going to list some verses here on the screen that you can refer to If you want to pause this video and read those verses, because these verses actually apply to everything I just talked about in the intro of this video, and I highly encourage you to read those verses before diving into this video so you have a better understanding of where this topic is heading into. But without further ado, let's get into the first way to include God within your finances, which is understanding God is the source of money. Any power, strength, wealth, anything and everything originated from God. So you have to have that mindset right off the back when it comes to including God within at least your personal finances or business finances. You have to understand that wealth, like money, that all comes from God. Any gift or talent that we have that helps us influence the way we use our money comes from God. You can refer to James 17:1 or Corinthians 12 verses 1 through 11 for that. Even our ability to give generously comes from God. Everything that we have, everything that exists comes from God. So think about it. The Bible doesn't say that money makes you wealthy. God does not say money makes you wealthy. It says he will give you the power to produce wealth. And you can find that in Deuteronomy 8:18. And this basically means he will always give you something to put your hands to, anoint your ability, bring that blessing on scene when you are obedient to his command. At the end of the day, we are merely managers of what he has given to us. We are supposed to steward anything that's given to us, really, but since we're talking about money and finances, we're supposed to steward our finances and money that he gives to us. If we can't manage a little bit, how are we going to manage a lot? How is God going to trust us with more when we can't even manage the $1,000 that he did give us, right? And that was my personal problem. God would give me money and I was horrible with it. I would spend it on things I didn't leave, or I would hoard it. And so when I'm praying and I'm asking for a financial breakthrough, I'm asking for more money to, pay my bills, why would God give me that if I can't even handle the money that he did give me? So ultimately, all your resources belong to God and come from God. You are just a steward of your assets and you are entrusted with that asset. And you can refer to Luke 16:10. So if you are in need of a financial breakthrough like I was, that doesn't come from taking out loans, right? That doesn't come from racking up debt on your credit cards. That doesn't come from worthless pursuits or get rich money quick schemes. It only comes from the source. So ask God for wisdom about your finances and guidance on how to steward what he has blessed you with and what he will give you. Okay, number 2 is increasing your income streams. So how can you include God when it comes to increasing your income streams? Well, first, when you became a Christian, the Holy Spirit deposited talents and abilities within you. Every gift and every ability you have is actually a potential stream of income. David, almost every gift he had later became a stream for him, including his leadership skills and his use of instruments. But Proverbs 18:16, and I always read from the ESV version, by the way, but Proverbs 18:16 says, "A man's gifts makes room for him and brings him before the great." So essentially, your gift does 2 vital things for you in producing finances in your life or income streams in your life. It can bring you opportunities and it can give you access. If you do not know what your spiritual gifts are, I recommend you seek them by asking God what they are. You might actually already have an idea of what you're actually really good at, and that actually right there may be your spiritual gift. If you still need more guidance, once again, I always say go to the source, which is God. You can pray for it. But I also did a 3-part series episode on my podcast called Spiritual Gifts. And in that series, I talk about what spiritual gifts are. I talk about how to find your use spiritual gifts within your business or within your career. And I'll also leave the link to those podcast episodes down below in the description box. Now, before we jump to the third way of including God in your finances, I actually want to read Ecclesiastes 11:1 through 6, because it's really going to add to what I'm talking about, including God within your income stream. "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. Give a portion to 7 or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth. If the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves on the earth. And if a tree falls to the south or to the north, and the place where the tree falls, there it will lie. He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the way the Spirit comes to the bones in the womb of a woman with child, so you do not know the work of God who makes everything. In the morning, sow your seed, and at evening withhold not your hand, for you do not know which will prosper, this or that, or whether both alike will be good. So let's break this down real quick. God says in Ecclesiastes 11:2 that we should give a portion of our income to 7 or even 8 places. So this verse and the verse before that verse is referring to investing your sustenance into moving, flowing places in order to bring a return when you need it. If you read further down in Ecclesiastes 11:6, we can clearly see that this passage is about handling things that bring us more harvest, income, and increase. And you can apply this principle to a lot of places. It's actually commonly taught by Christian financial advisors when they're talking about diversifying of someone's investment. However, I'm convinced it applies to our income as well, not just investing into 7 or different things. I also believe it also refers to our income that's coming in should be coming from at least 7 or 8 places. God says diversification is good, that when we diversify, we should diversify into 7 or 8. So I believe this includes our investments and our income sources as well. In the passage above in Ecclesiastes 11:4, it says, "He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap." Guys, there will always be negative possibilities. There will always be risks. But look at all the positive possibilities. Look at all the rewards that are possibilities. Look at the fulfillment that are possibilities. And look at the proven success of entrepreneurs all over the world since the beginning of time have experienced. So I personally have started to increase the number of income streams that I have coming in. I don't have 7 or 8 right now, but I definitely do have more than one, which does help a lot because I cannot put all my eggs in one basket. I learned in COVID when I lost my job, I literally had no other income sources coming in, and that was my main source of income. So that right there taught me that I can't just rely on the income from my job. I should be investing either into other places that's going to bring me more income, and it doesn't have to match the income I was bringing, but it doesn't hurt to have a few money coming from different sources that can pay a certain amount of bills, or that can be my leisure money. So I learned that the hard way, and now I do make sure that I use my gifts and my talents to generate more income sources for me. So find out what you're good at and turn that or generate that into an income for yourself. Number 3 is budgeting. So the next way to include God within your finances is to have a plan on how you plan to spend the money you have coming in. Luke 14 verses 28 through 30 says, "For which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, 'This man began to build and was not able to finish.'" Then in 1 Corinthians 16 verse 2, it says, "On the first day of every week, each of you is to put something aside and store it up, as he may prosper, so that there will be no collecting when I come." And then in Proverbs 27:23, it says, "Know well the conditions of your flocks and give attention to your herds. For riches do not last forever, and does a crown endure to all generations?" See, in the finance world, cash on hand is the main event. It is so important to have cash on hand. So budgeting is simply a written plan that shows you in details these few things: how much money you earn from all sources each month, how much you need to live on, and then how much you have in discretionary income. Discretionary income is basically the money you have left over after all your expenses are paid. And then you can use this discretionary income to allocate to a savings, to an emergency funds, to a leisure fund, so like for travel, vacation, for fun stuff. You can allocate it to giving and tithing, which we'll get more about that in a few. You can ask any financial advisor, or I believe any financial advisor would say this, but the most simple financial task, but also the most powerful financial task, is to have a budget, because it's critical for success and it's realistic, and it's creating a realistic monthly budget for you. When we have an understanding of what we're spending versus what's coming in, we're showing a sign of responsibility and respect for what God has given us. With a realistic monthly budget that you actually plan to follow, it allows you to live a more fruitful and peaceful life from a financial standpoint. Careful budgeting actually gives you more of an opportunity to continuously and graciously give a portion of your income to any kingdom cause that you want. So my question to you, do you know how much money you spend every single month? It's so important to track your expenses. There's so many tools, free tools out there that you can use to create a budget plan sheet. You can use Excel, you can use Mint, you can use QuickBooks. There's so many free tools out there. There's even phone apps out there. I don't know what apps there are, but there's even apps out there that track your spending habits. I honestly believe from past experiences that in order to move from fearful insecurity regarding your finances to having more control is to create a budget and then live by that budget. The goal at the end of the month is to always have leftover money. You want discretionary income left over so that way you can allocate those resources to other parts of your life. You can't do that if you're spending more than you're actually getting what's coming in. So create a budget. So the fourth way of including God within your finances is building up cash reserves, or you may call it a emergency fund. Proverbs 27:12 says, the prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. And I also encourage you to read Matthew 25 verses 1 through 13, which is the parable of the 10 virgins, I believe it's called. And in that story, you'll find out that what separated the wise from the foolish was their preparation for the unexpected. The virgins that were known as foolish didn't plan for the unexpected by bringing extra oil. However, the wise virgins brought extra oil in preparation for the unexpected. So people who live paycheck to paycheck, which I was one of those people, and now that I'm trying to make a budget and stay within my means, I'm kind of living client by client right now, and I'm going to be honest with you. I have not been using my business and personal finances the best, and right now I'm at a point where I didn't have any cash reserves on hand for the slow times of the year when I don't have any clients, when I don't have any retainer clients. And so this is why this topic right here is such a blessing for me to teach you, because I'm able to teach you from my past mistakes. But people who live paycheck to paycheck or keep putting unforeseen expenses on credit cards are never going to see, or I won't say never, but it's going to be really hard to see any financial success, or it's going to be really hard getting ahead financially. The best way around unforeseen expenses is to have a cash reserve or an emergency fund on hand that you can use for any emergency case or unforeseen events. So I recommend having 3 months, and I think financial advisors also say the same thing, having 3 months of all expenses that you usually spend, 3 months of that within a reserve account. Now, I'm self-employed, so I recommend having actually 6 months of income stored up in 6 months of your expenses stored up in a cash reserve. So self-employed, I say 6 months. If you have a consistent regular amount of income from like a job, then I would say 3 months. Now, I know some of y'all in the comments are going to bring up Matthew 6, and I'm actually going to address that right now. So if you don't know, Matthew 6 verse 19 says, do not lay up for yourself treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So let's talk about this real quick. The truth is, we can never make enough successful financial decisions that's going to eliminate us from having any trials in our lives. Christians, we are not exempt from trials, especially when it comes to finances. So we can't get into the dangerous mindset that if we save up if we save up a lot, if we invest a lot, if we increase our amount of incomes, if we go after all these incomes that give us a lot of money, that we're going to be safe from everything. Because what ends up happening is that you'll start idolizing those ways that you're getting money over trusting God and providing you with those money. So my prayer for you is that you will be encouraged or inspired to create a workable budget for you and to build up your cash reserves to protect you from financial hardships in the future by being proactive with your finances right now. And then also remember what Proverbs 21:5 says, the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. All in all, make sure that your financial planning doesn't go above God. At the end of the day, remember, number one, God is the source of everything. So make sure you're including him within building up your cash reserves and your budget as well, and your income streams. And now this leads me to number 5, which is tithing and giving. So I honestly believe God's solution to poverty is us. We are encouraged to give to those in need, and we're also encouraged to tithe a portion of our income to kingdom causes, whether that be a church or a charity of your choice. So 1 John 3:17, but if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him? And then Philippians 2:4, let each of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interest of others. Now, there is a lot regarding tithes in the Christian community, and also the amount that you're supposed to tithe. At the end of the day, tithing is supposed to be a form of worship to God and a service to the body of Christ. So at the end of the day, I believe tithing comes down to a heart issue, and how you spend both your time and your money is between you and God. Some can give more than 10% and opt not to. Some can give only 2% but opt to give 100%. Once again, I feel like that issue is between you and God. I feel like if you start focusing too much on the rules of tithing, you'll start to idolize or focus more on the legalism of tithing than tithing over faith in general. At the end of the day, I believe God will encourage you on how much you should be tithing in different situations, and sometimes it may not even be money, it may even be your time spent. If he encourages you to give more, this is considered an offering. So an offering is basically anything more than 10% of a tithe. Anything over that is considered an offering. It's all about giving generously, even if there's no financial profit behind it. Giving and tithing helps grow your spiritual journey with God and your spiritual relationship with God. It also helps grow you emotionally. So I don't know about you, but have you ever just given generously? It feels so good. And if you have given generously and you have not felt that feeling, then I'm sorry to say you did not give with a generous heart. You gave with a guilty heart. So I pray and encourage you to set up a plan for giving systematically to tithes and or offerings, and even spending your time, let's say giving your time to a community event or giving your time to help out those in need, like at a food shelter or a food bank or something. And also at the end of the day, remember to give because you love God. Don't give because you feel like you have to. Don't give out of guilt. They say the happiest people in the world are the people who give the most, and I honestly, truly believe that. And it's something that I am doing with my discretionary income, or trying to do more consistently with my discretionary income, is I'm trying to allocate my discretionary income, a percentage of that every single month that goes towards my tithing, but I'm also trying to spend my time wisely as well by being in groups at church or being in community events that my church also offers. And I'm trying to get more into that. I'm not perfect at it right now, but that's something that's definitely on my list for 2023. So now that brings us to number 6, which is debt. So have you ever heard of the quote, robbing Peter to pay Paul? I used to use it all the time when I was struggling with my finances, up into literally my late 20s, now into my early 30s, trying to reverse everything I've learned about finances. So yeah, it was a motto I notoriously lived by. And basically what I would do is that when I would receive income, I would pay a little bit towards this bill and take the rest of that money that was supposed to go towards that bill and pay it towards another bill. And so then I would ask for a payment extension so I can use the rest of that money and pay it toward. It was a mess. I was really robbing Peter to pay Paul, and that system does not work out, by the way. Just don't do it. Just pay in full every time you actually can. Proverbs 22:7 says, the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. Now, I want to say this because I think a lot of us Christians get confused in thinking that being in debt is a sin. The Bible does not say that being in debt is a sin, but it is saying that it can enslave us to whoever that creditor is. I mean, think about it. If you are in a lot of debt, and you're trying to, let's say, put money towards tithing or put money towards your vacation fund. It's going to be hard to do that if you're constantly taking that money you do earn and paying it to that creditor, which that creditor now becomes the master of your money, because your money is going more towards them than more towards kingdom causes. But I do like to say that not all debt is bad debt. I honestly believe some debt is actually good debt that can actually, when you invest in that debt now, it actually gives you a financial reward in the future. So for example, school. If you're going to school to be a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that, that really has an impact on the community, yeah, you're probably going to go in debt, but I believe that debt is going to pay off in a financial return in the future. So I don't think that debt is bad. When you are starting a business, maybe you want to start a business with a business loan and you know for a fact that this business is going to take off, you planned for it, you did your research, and in the future, that loan will be paid off based on the business income that you have coming in. Or think about a mortgage. So if you are buying a home in the future, that's going to be a home for your family, and that's going to pay off in the end, because now you have a forever home that can be passed down from generation to generation. So no, I do not believe that debt is all bad, and the Bible does not say that debt is a sin, but we must have control over our debt, and we must be I want to say in debt wisely, but basically don't go into debt with things that you know you cannot afford. And don't go into debt for something that may not give you a future return. So as long as the debt is manageable and you're wise with it, it's not a sin. I also want to read Romans 13:7. It says, pay to all what is owed to them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed. So basically, if you're managing your debt wisely, just remember to pay your debt. And the last thing that we're going to get into is investing. Now, I personally have not really invested into like stocks or bonds or mutual funds or anything like that as of yet, because I'm still working on parts 3, 4, and 5 of the steps that I'm giving you. But once I finally get to the investing part, I do want to make a whole separate video on how to invest the way the Bible tells you to invest, or using God's words to help you invest, or just including God within your investment. But I do want to say, in layman's term, investing is when one acquires something of value now in order to receive a return on it in the future, or get some type of appreciation off the value that they got now in the future. I do want to point out Ecclesiastes 11:2, which is all about diversifying your income, which we already talked about that, where I talked about not only do I think it's just for investments, it's also for income sources as well, but you can also use that for your investments. And then I'll also put on the screen here Proverbs 27:23-24, which talks all about managing your investments, and I hope and pray, encourage that you read that as well if you're starting to invest. But investment is just another way that we can use God's resources as a tool to help further either generational wealth or help other people out. So for example, if you are investing into, let's say, a rental unit, an 8-building rental unit, you know, that money that, yeah, you're going maybe into debt for if you can't afford the cash on hand, if you're going into debt in that, not only are you going to get a return on the future based on the property value and all that stuff, but you're also giving homes to people maybe in need. So maybe you're, you know, renting out an 8 rental unit for people, for like single fathers or single, you know, or single family homes, or, you know, women that just got out of domestic abuse shelters and they don't have money to really pay rent, and maybe you have a program set up. You know, there's just so much you can do with, let's say, an investment like that. So now, when it comes to stocks and bonds and stuff, that investment is usually going back to you, whatever return you get, but that's extra income. And now you can take that extra income that you have and allocate it to kingdom causes, as well as allocate the things that, you know, make you happy in life. So whether that's vacations, whether that's starting your own business with that income, anything you want to do with that discretionary income. And I also would just encourage you to use some of that discretionary income that you get from your investments to give back to kingdom causes. At the end of the day, Jesus knew that our relationship with God would be deeply impacted by money, our mindset on money, as well as our attitude towards money, which is why I think a lot of his parables or a lot of his teaching talked about the dangers, the warnings, or the management of money. At the end of the day, if we worry more about money, we wouldn't be trusting God, which means we're serving money over God, because we're putting more trust in our money than more trust in God. That brings us to the end of this video. Hopefully you learned 7 new ways to include God within your finances. This video, once again, is how I'm including God within my finances, and I believe those are the 7 biggest parts of financial planning. So I really hope that you took something away from this video. At the end of the day, I encourage you to read through all the scriptures that I shared with you today when it comes to finances, when it comes to money management. Then I also pray that you ask God and seek God for wisdom when it comes to finances, and wisdom when it comes to the income that you have coming in and what to do with your discretionary income, how much you should be tithing, how much of your time you should be spending somewhere. Just ask God. I promise you, He will answer you. I'm going to end off this video. Thank you guys so much. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.